You've made it. You have made it this far to chapter 12. You're almost done with the class. Congratulations. Raise the roof. And you get a free magic trick. Ooh. All right. So, social psychology. Learning outcome today, we're going to talk about define persuasions, explain social psychology. Social psychology is a very fascinating field in psychology. It's basically how we interact with one another, what we think about one another, and how other people think about us affects us. Fascinating field. A lot of great experiments can be done in social psychology. I hope you enjoy it anyways and learn some new things. Also, I posted some videos on this chapter. Make sure you watch those to really have a better understanding of some of the psychological experiments that were done in social psych. Some not very ethical, but they were still done anyways. Probably wouldn't be done today. Okay, attitudes. Well, we all know what attitudes are. All right, it's just basically our feelings, evaluations about the world around us, towards certain things, and beliefs or attitudes towards, you name it, you have an attitude towards it, whether it be positive, negative, or apathetic. Central route persuasion. Okay, so here, if you're having a discussion and someone is trying to persuade you of their point of view, well, there's really two routes that can really have an effect on you. One is the argument itself, the central route of persuasion or processing here. They have a good point. Okay, they have a good point, and they may have influenced the way you see things because of their thoughtful points and the considerations, the use of facts. They get right to it, a central route of persuasions. Or peripheral route of persuasion is really not about what is being presented, it's about who is presenting it. It could be an attractive female, she might do it, or attractive male. Or it could be you just like the person more. It could be anything that has to do besides the message itself. You just like the individual, or you may dislike the individual and not even listen to them. So, central route is about the information. Peripheral is about the person that's delivering the message. All right, cognitive dissonance. This one's pretty good, or happens all the time. Basically, is you have a viewpoint. You have a way that you see the world. But then you don't behave in that way. So this causes what's called a cognitive dissonance, which causes anxiety in your brain, which causes you to do two things. Sorry, drinking coffee. One is you either have to change your opinion, no longer go by those beliefs, or you have to rationalize it somehow. Okay? People love to rationalize. They do things they are totally against. Like calling somebody, if you're a person who values honesty and you get mad when people lie to you, but then you lie, well, then you either have to adjust the way you think, or you have to rationalize why you did that. Okay, oops, I skipped one. Social cognition is what we do to make sense of the world, make sense of other people, how we categorize, and all those other things. Okay. Schema, set of cognitions about people and social experiences. You might have a schema about blue collar workers or white collar workers. You put them in a categorization that are both separate from one another. Impression formation is when when you've learned or you're meeting somebody for the first time, you're learning about them, and then usually first impressions make a big difference, and then we organize information based on our first impression. Okay. 7. Attribution theory is basically we apply reasonings as to why someone is behaving a certain way. Okay? What causes a person to behave that way? Like if someone cuts you off, you usually apply some type of attribution to that person as to why that person cuts you off. It's usually not good. Like, he's terrible driver, he's a butthole, or you name it, is usually not negative, or it's usually something that's negative. All right. If someone did something, on TV, or someone say something on TV, you apply a reason for their behavior. That reasoning is an attribution that you apply to someone else. Usually there's two situational causes. Like, what if that person cut you off because he's rushing to the hospital because his wife is delivering a baby and she's about ready to deliver? That's based on the situation. Or poor people aren't poor, all right, because of they're just lazy. It's because they grow up in poverty. They've never had help with anything. They've never, they've had struggles. Maybe they, their family suffer from addiction. Okay, see how that works? Dispositional causes is when you say the guy cut me off because he's a jerk, or someone who is unemployed. Whoops, sorry. Let me turn on that light. Someone who's unemployed or poor deserves to be unemployed or poor because they're lazy. All right. By the way, I do not believe that. All right. So those are dispositional. It's caused by their own problems or their own fault. The halo effect, basically, if you have a good outlook on somebody, well, then you might give them a halo effect. You give them passes. You listen to their side, but no one else's sides. Okay. And assume similarity. We tend to favor people who are more like us. So for me, it would be like 46-year-old goofy guys. I might gravitate towards those type of people. All right. Self-serving bias. Whenever we do things, we make a lot of excuses for the way we behave, whether it's good or bad. Because to make us feel better about ourselves, that tends to be everything. These are things that we naturally do. It doesn't make you a bad person if you suffer from cognitive dissonance or self-serving bias. It actually is very healthy for us a lot of times. And fundamental attribution error is a tendency to overemphasize the dispositional part in someone's attributions. All right, like someone cut you off, you say, that guy is a jerk. Well, then, but you're wrong. The guy is trying to get to the hospital to deliver his baby. All right. And so fundamental attribution error is when we just use dispositional attributes rather than situational attributes. Okay, I'm going to try and get through this before we leave. Learning outcome, social influence, how other people affect us, and conformity. All right. Conformity is when we conform to the group, because human beings do not like to stick out in the crowd. We do not like to go against the crowd, because 100,000 years ago when we were humans, we still are humans. 100,000 years ago when we were early, 100,000 years ago, in our little groups, we did not want to stick out of the crowd because that could have meant death. That could have meant you got kicked out of the tribe. and you had to survive on your own, and getting kicked out of the tribes pretty much meant that you were going to die. So with conformity, we have to be able to make sure that, or we conform to the group in order to not stick out. Solomon Asch did an excellent experiment on this, and what he did, and take a look on the video that I posted. The person was presented with 3 lines, and it was a group of people, okay, and the person who, all of them were in on it except for one person, the person towards the end, and they would pick the wrong line, and by the time they got to that person who was not in on it, he would always pick the incorrect one. So look that up. Compliance, getting people to do what you want them to do. The foot in the door phenomenon is getting a person to say yes to something that is small, and then work your way up to the thing that you really want to get. Okay? And door in the face technique is when you come out with a large request, so completely opposite of foot in the door technique. Come out with a large request that you know will be refused, and then expect to get the smaller one that you're really wanting. Compliance. Take the deal. All right. Oh, you want this? Well, that's not all. You always see it in commercials. All right. Not so free sample. You feel the need to reciprocate when you're given a free sample, so you're more likely to buy a product. So you're at Walmart and they give you a sample. Well, after that sample, you will end up buying the box. All this is psychological. All this is not wanting. This is social psychology here, and this is us wanting to not stick out in the crowd. IO psychology is that's where the money is, and if you're into psychology and you like money, IO psychology is a good deal. Emporia State used to have it, but no longer does. So K-State, I believe, is the only one in the state that offers IO psychology, so consider taking it. Obedience, the Stanley Milgram experiment. I posted a video on that. Make sure you take a look at that. And basically, this experiment was very influential, and basically what it was pretty much convince people to kill another person, and 2/3 of the people would have killed another person simply because a guy in a white coat was telling them to push a button. Take a look at that and come back, and then I'm going to stop it right here and finish this chapter here in a little bit. All right, thank you. Hi, I got to leave here in a little bit, so you're right.
That was a great conversation. That was good job.
Thanks. I was kind of rushing through it a little bit because I only get 15-minute increments. Oh my gosh.